Am I audible? Am I audible? Okay. Okay. Good morning, all of you. I welcome you all in the series of lectures on career-oriented and communication skills. Career-oriented communication skills and personality development course. It is a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker today, who is going to talk us about what is dynamic communication. What is dyadic communication? Our speaker has done MA in English. He has qualified SET and B.Ed examination in English. He has also done his PhD. He has 5 experience of teaching at UG and PG level. Currently, he is working as an assistant professor, Department of English, Srimati R.S. College, Anjangaon, Surji. He has done his research on complexity of the human relationship in the translated plays of Vijay Tendulkar. He has also done a language course, that is PGCTE, from Hyderabad. He has published his 6 research papers in national, international, and conferences. So, student, please join me in welcoming a multifaceted personality, a dynamic person, Dr. Chaturanand Kedar, sir. I welcome you, sir, on the behalf of the entire fraternity of SBCT College. Please, over to you, sir.
Sir, you are not audible, sir. Hello, sir. Chaturanand Kedar, sir. You are not audible, sir. No, sir. You are not audible.
Hello. Now, am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Thank you, ma'am. I express my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Anil Sende, sir, Head Department of English, Dr. Rupali Bhave, ma'am, and other faculty members of the department for giving me an opportunity to speak on this topic in today's online platform. I also express my congratulations and good wishes to the principal, Dr. Sujit Maitre sir, and IQAC coordinator, Dr. Pranjali Kane ma'am, and other organizing team for making this digital platform available for the students and other participants during this pandemic pandemonium of COVID-19. Friends, today we join here to know about dyadic communication. Ma'am, can I share my PPT? Hello. Hi, ma'am. Please allow me to share the PPT, or you can share. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Next slide, please. Yes, first slide. First slide, please. Yes, after this. Direct communication, it is a form of interpersonal communication. Next slide, please. Please change the slide. Yes, thank you. It is a form of interpersonal communication which involves two close people who exchange their ideas, thoughts, and feelings on a mutual basis. The term direct communication in general refers to an interaction between two persons, even if more than two persons are present in a situation. It is only two communicators that play a fundamental role. Basically, therefore, it is a person to person or face to face interaction. And one of the commonest form of speech communication. It is known as one of the commonest form of speech communication or oral communication. Direct communication often involves dialogue between two persons or two people who engage in face-to-face interaction, verbal, non-verbal, or a written form of communication. You know very well what is verbal communication, what is non-verbal communication, what is a written form of communication. A few lectures I have seen in the timetable you have prepared that you may have gone through that parts, verbal, non-verbal, and written form of communication. Now, furthermore, if we want to know direct communication more, it refers to the communication where two persons seek to exchange information. Can you share the next slide, please? Next slide. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Direct communication is a communication between individuals in a personal relationship which builds through time and involves their thoughts and feelings to a certain level. People who know each other and have some form of intimacy, for example, a conversation between a father and his son or daughter. It may be a direct communication. It may also be between co-workers, between lovers and classmates. As we are speaking on this online platform, this can be called a direct communication because it happens between two. I am talking, you are listening. I am sending a message, you are receiving the message. And after that, you will give me the feedback that is known as the process of direct communication. These relationships means the independent in that the action of one person has impact on the other person. Direct can take place face to face as well as through electronic channels, as we are talking on the electronic channel. This is a digital platform, or even via traditional forms like letter writing. Please share the next slide. Direct communication is a process of oral communication. Therefore, it is known as oral communication as we are talk face to face. Whenever we meet to our friends, we talk something. Whenever we, two lovers get together, they speak some personal thing, or that is another form of communication. We will know further that which is known this form as 2 or 7 participants as senders or receivers can join in direct communication. Next slide, please. Direct communication occurs between two people or a dyad. Dyad in general is an interaction between the two. The meaning of dyad, the term dyad means the interaction between the two. Can form friendship or romantic relationship, professional relationship, can be divided into two groups, complementary, which means when each member brings something to table the other legs. Symmetric, when each member shares similar qualities. Interpersonal relationship is derived from the prefix inter. Interpersonal relationship, interpersonal communication is derived from the prefix inter, which means between the person, which means human beings. It occurs when two or three people exchange messages, feelings, thoughts through face-to-face over the phone, verbal and non-verbal communication. In face-to-face interaction, the messages exchanged are both verbal and non-verbal. In emails, for example, in emails, this is the electronic device email, electronic mails, that is known as electronic mail. Most messages are messages are words. In electronic mails, most messages are words. Interpersonal communication is a transactional process that occurs when two people use verbal and non-verbal messages to create a meaning and influence others. It is a transactional process because both parties create and share meaning with the aim of influencing others. Okay, you got it. Am I audible? Hello. Anybody can give me feedback that am I audible? मेरी आवाज आ रही है अब तक? माझा आवाज येत आहे का?
Sir, yes.
Okay, ma'am. Please share the next slide. Please, can you share the next slide, please? Yes, next slide is model, interactional dyadic model of communication. This you can see on the screen, interactional model of dyadic communication. The source is first person and receiver. Suppose the receiver is the second person. The communication going on between the two. Source means first is sending message to the receiver, means the second person, and the second person who receives message. Suppose I am the source of dyadic communication. I am giving you the information of dyadic communication, and you are the receiver. You are receiving my message. You are learning what is going on and what is meant by dyadic communication. So you will give me the feedback. Means this is the process of interactional dyadic model of communication. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide, ma'am. Next slide. Please share the next slide. Yes, this is another image. You can see sender, receiver, sender. Okay, sender can be a receiver can be a sender. Both means the role changes. Means sometimes I am the receiver, you are the sender. Okay, when you will give me feedback, I will be the receiver. Okay, and when I am speaking, as I am speaking, you are receiving, then you are the receiver. Okay, next slide, please. There are two types of dyadic communication. Generally, we can divide dyadic communication into two forms. First, sorry. First is formal dyadic communication. Means this type involves two people who exchange ideas, thoughts, opinions, and information in a professional or formal manner. You got it? What I said? Means for the formal dyadic communication, we need to increase our artistry skill. Artistry skill means we must have command on language. We must be in manner, in etiquette. We should speak to someone. This is a formal pattern we use in offices. For example, whenever we speak to our colleague who is working with us, or for example, in interview, we can't use any abusive language or chit chat type language. In confessions or counseling, we use formal form of communication. Means formal dyadic communication is guided by set of rules that bind the communicators. This formal communication has some benedictions of rules of language, rules of artistry, command. Okay, this is the formal. That is why it is known as formal form of communication. It is the formal form of communication which religiously follows the rules of language. Examples of such communications are interviews, confessions, and counseling. Okay, next form is informal dyadic communication. Informal dyadic communication. By contrast to formal communication, it is contrast to formal communication. Vice versa, we can say. त्याच्या विरुद्ध त्याला म्हणता येईल उसके एकदम विरुद्ध क्रिया है ना. तो contrastal formal informal dyadic communication means contrast to formal communication. It can be largely non-verbal, includes slang or even slurred speech as well as foul language, commonly used in chit chat, gossip, and intimate conversation. In intimate conversation we use. For example, whenever two friends chat, they do not follow any rules or regulation. They chat hi, hello. Okay, this is hi guys, or you can say that they use the term hi dudes. Hi dudes. This is the form of informal communication or chit chat in gossip between the two close friends or two lovers whenever they speak. The examples you can see here of the formal and informal communication, you can see from this slide. Formal, the form of formal communication, we have written here a sentence. Hello sir, it's wonderful to make your acquaintance. How are you today? This is the formal form of communication. Informal, dude, what's up? Dude, what's up? This is the colloquial language. Informal, there is no rules and regulation while speaking. Okay, formal, another example for a formal form of communication. Happy birthday, John. I hope you will turn out to be a successful person, John. This is a formal form of communication. This formal form of wishing someone. Okay, informal, hi dude. The same. Whenever in informal form of communication, whenever you speak or greet someone, that hi dude, I heard you turn 18. Hi dude, I heard you turn 18. Okay, this is informal form of communication. Next slide, that is the stages of dyadic communication. We can divide these into 3 stages according to my opinion and the studies. We can divide dyadic communication into 3 parts: transactional, transaction, interaction, and termination. Okay, transaction means transaction means it is when people start to communicate. Means opening stage. Opening stage. There are some basic stages of direct communication. Also, we will discuss later. Okay, it is when the two people start to communicate. Means transactional stage. It is when people learn to exchange a facial expression. People start to change facial expression. They invite a talk based on mutual interest. Okay, this is a transactional form. Interaction means this stage is the core of communication. In this, the subject matter of the talk is known as establish. This the subject matter of the talk is known as established. Okay, and termination means it is when the goal of the communication is achieved. Means the final step, closing of the communication. Means the goal or the aim of the communication is achieved. This is known as terminational. Okay, stage of direct communication. It is the end of communication. It is known as the end of communication. There are also some basic stages of direct communications. Can you share the next slide, please? Okay, these are the stages of few stages of direct communication: opening stage, feed forward stage, elaboration stage, feedback, and closing stage. The same stages we can divide into 5. Okay, the stage in direct communications, stages in direct communication. These stages we can say that according to the scholars observe that interpersonal or direct communication occur through stages. Opening stage, the first stage in interpersonal communication is open the conversation, usually with some kind of greeting. Greetings can either be verbal or non-verbal. Verbal greetings include hi, hello, while non-verbal greetings include waving of hands, smiling, shaking hands, and working. One's greeting is reciprocated by others depends on the formality of conversation. Opening are often interpreted as a genuine request to information. In opening a conversation in interpersonal communication, one should be positive rather than negative. Means we should not inculcate the preconception that negative sense. We must be always positive while speaking. In short, while speaking in the opening stage, means while starting communication, we must be positive, and one should also not too revealing in terms of self disclosure. Okay, this is the opening stage. And a feed forward stage is where one gives the other person in the conversation an opportunity to initiate an idea or conversation or discussion. This is a feed forward stage, and feed forward identifies the tone of the conversation and enable the communicators to start the conversation. One is able to anticipate the topic of the conversation from the tone. The third type of communication is elaborative. The third stage of direct communication is elaborative, which is the business where the topic of discussion is elaborated and those conversing engage in more lengthy discussions. It emphasizes that most conversations, whether face to face or on the phone or via mail, are goal oriented. The next step of feedback, The next step of direct communication is a feedback. Yes, the fourth stage. In this stage, you reflect on the conversation to signal that as far as you are concerned, the business is completed. Means after the end of this lecture, suppose that in the end of this speaking, you will give me some feedback. Okay, this will be the fourth step. The purpose of the conversation is achieved at this stage. In analyzing the feedback, focus on the behavior or the message rather than the motives behind the message or behavior. And the final stage is the closing stage. Like the opening, the closing signals the end of the conversation. As the opening stage signals the beginning of the communication, direct communication, in the same way, the closing stage signals us the end of the conversation. The closing may be verbal, non-verbal, but is usually combination of both. For example, when a husband goes to an office, his wife, the conversation is going on between the two. His wife wells him a hand, bye, or something like this. This will be the ending, means the non-verbal signal, that end of the conversation that he is going. Okay. Briefly summarize in the beginning or to a close state, the desire to end the conversation and rather to future interactions to signal the end. Okay, next slide, please. Yes, is this slide. Keep it. Scholars' views on the development of direct communication or interpersonal communication. You can see here some scholars of direct communication or communicating scholars speak something on or states or put some ideas on the development stages of direct communication. For example, Mark Snap states that the success of direct communication depends on self-perception and interaction relationship. For this communication to be successful, three factors have to be considered. Communication scholar, other communication scholar, Miller, state that for interpersonal to be effective, there has to be precautions based on the psychological idea. In the interpersonal communication, we respond to each other basing on the sociological information, which includes our beliefs, values, and social status. The second factor is the knowledge of each other. In the interpersonal communication, we base our communication on explanatory knowledge of a particular person. We can predict how a particular person can react in various situations during the communication. Thirdly, the rule of interaction are personal in interpersonal communication. Miller argues that the society gets rules for interaction situations that are applied when two persons engage in a conversation. Miller states that social rules for interaction set up by the society lose importance as the relationship becomes personal. In the place of these social rules, the individual set up personal rule. When individuals set up their personal rule for interaction with each other, rather than using the set up rules by the society, the situation become interpersonal. Okay, you got it. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. There are some elements of dyadic communication, as we discussed before. Source, receiver, receiver, source, message, feedback, channels, message, interference, environment, and context. These are the elements of dyadic communication. The source is the person who initiate a thought, a feeling, or an idea. The source thinks about the message and how to communicate it. Okay, this is the source. And a receiver is the person listening to the message. He or she is responsible for interpreting and responding to the source message. And message means an idea, thought, or feeling that the source communicates to the receiver in the communication sorry and the communication process. Channels is the verbal and non-verbal messages are transmitted from the source. Means this is the channel. Channel means we can say this is the transmission of the source message and the receiver's feedback. This is known as channel. That may be verbal and non-verbal. Waving hands or shaking hand also complete. Can say complete the communication. This is also a form of communication. And verbal and non-verbal are the transmissions from the source to receive through a medium. It refers to the pathway through which messages are communicated. Channels means a pathway, a way, or a path through which messages are communicated. Okay, feedback means the communication will be incomplete if there is no feedback. Feedback is very necessary in communication. If only I am speaking and you are listening, that is a monologue. As it happens in dramatic monologue, only one person speaks and other listens, and there is no feedback. Okay, that happens only in poetry, I think. But when we say about the communication can't complete without feedback. So feedback is very important part, a crucial part, or feedback plays a vital role in communication. Okay, it refers to the verbal and non-verbal responses to the source messages. Okay, context is also part of dyadic communication, or the element of dyadic communication. It refers to the physical environment in which the communication takes place. It affects on how people interact. Context affects on how people interact. Okay, you got it? Please share the next slide. Characteristics of dyadic communication. You can divide or you can say that these are the pictures of dyadic communication. First is it's individualistic. It is individualistic because it engages other people as individuals who are different. People come to learn and understand others' behaviors, beliefs, and thoughts through interaction. Therefore, we can say that the feature of dyadic communication is individualistic. Another feature of dyadic communication is exchange of symbols. It involves exchange of symbols which are mutually agreed upon by both parties, sender and receiver. Sender and receiver, both parties agrees to the exchange of symbols. Okay, exchange of signals. This is also a feature of dyadic communication. And dyadic communication is unavoidable. It means that one cannot avoid making meanings from symbols. One cannot avoid making meanings from symbols and messages around them. For example, you are traveling on a road and you have seen a signal. We cannot avoid making the meaning of that signal. You automatically, your mind will grasp or guess the meaning of that signal. What you have seen on the road or around you. Okay, it is impossible to avoid a response or communicate at all. Miss, when the signal is green, suppose you are driving a car, when the signal is signal shows green signal, okay, you drive your car, you start driving your car, or otherwise you will, if it is red, you stop there. Miss, you take the meaning of that symbols or signals. Okay, it is unavoidable. Therefore, we say this is unavoidable. Dyadic communication is said to be the easiest form of verbal communication or oral communication. Dyadic communication may take a number of forms. Can you share the next slide, please? Yes. The different forms of dyadic communication. Now, we can discuss here the forms of communication. Face-to-face communication. There are many forms of dyadic communication, but we shall discuss only the following for you. The different forms of dyadic communications are face-to-face interaction, telephonic communication, interviews, instruction, and dictation. Actually, you have gone through some part of these, some forms of this dyadic communication. I have seen in the timetable given to me that someone talk on dyadic communication, on telephonic communication, telephonic conversation, and interview. Means you are familiar to these parts. Face-to-face communication is a form of communication that is the most common form of direct communication. It is like people together when people comes together and speak something, that is face-to-face communication. It is in social or professional life always happens. The face-to-face communication conversation may be defined as oral and usually informal or friendly exchange of views, ideas, etc. In a conversation, the participant has to play the role of a speaker or a listener interchangeably. Means sometimes a speaker may be a listener and listener may be a speaker. Means both interchange their roles. Means in face-to-face communication, participant has to play the role of a speaker or a listener interchangeably. Very often, we form an impression about an individual from the way he talks and the topics on which he converses. Most of us find it easy to converse with our friends, relatives, and colleagues whom we like and trust. That is why conversation rarely finds a place in a program of formal instruction. Please share the next slide. Face-to-face communication is the most common. Yes, we have gone through this slide. Please change the next slide. Is the more commonest form of communication. In this form, body language, yes, body language and eye contact also plays a vital role in face-to-face communication. Whenever we speak to someone directly, our body language and eye contact also plays an important role in that communication, in the direct communication. But it cannot happen in telephonic communication. It miss that part, miss body language and eye contact. You can say that less effective in telephonic communication. But it can be possible on video conferencing or video calling or any other way of video chatting or video talking. Okay, it may be defined as oral or usually informal or friendly exchange of views, ideas, etc. In it, participant has to play a role of a speaker or a listener interchangeably. Dialogue. Yes, this is also a part of face-to-face communication. It is another form of direct communication, involves two active participants in a face-to-face encounter, the sender and the receiver of the messages, interchange of dialogues. It differs in communication in that a dialogue is purposive. It has a definite agenda or a topic to discuss, usually problem solving method. We always use in teaching learning method, problem solving method. Is in short, face-to-face communication analyze our own conversation. If we I want to suggest you here, face-to-face communication, you can observe your own conversation, or you can see some videos, you can watch some videos on YouTube of the communication, face-to-face communication, how the manners and etiquettes and topic are discussed. Okay. It is useful first to analyze your own conversation habits and then try to change them for greater effectiveness. I will suggest to you, ask yourself some questions such as, do I find it difficult to start conversation? Am I able or unable to pick a topic? Am I unable to keep the conversation flowing smoothly? Do I always agree with what others say or disagree with them at all? Do I frequently talk about myself, my family, and my interests? Have I a tendency to dominate every conversation situation? Do I give the other participants to change, to speak? Have I any mannerism likely to annoy people? Do I respect other people's time and interests? Am I self-conscious about the language, the use of grammar, pronunciation, articulation, etc.? These types of question you can ask yourself to analyze your communication. The answer that you will get will prove useful both for formal and informal conversation. It will improve your communication. Moreover, I would like to suggest some hints here. Be friendly and interested in conversation. Be alert to the attitude that others may have. Be always courteous and cheerful and feel interested in what is being said. Avoid paid and superfluous words and phrases. Okay, this will be my suggestion while communicating others to you. That be friendly and interested in conversation. Be alert to the attitude that others may have. Always courteous or always grateful or cheerful, and feel interested in what is being said. What is being said. Avoid superfluous words or phrases in communication. Means difficult words and phrases. Speak simple. Speak simple so that others can understand you. Okay. Another form, please. Another slide. Please share the other slide. Telephonic conversation. Yes, telephonic communication, telephonic interaction. In sorry, one of the dynamic or greatest form of communication is telephonic communication. In this pandemonium of COVID-19, telephonic conversation is playing a vital role as we are maintaining social distance. One form of direct communication is interaction between two persons on telephone in this form, body language and eye contact is lost. But I will say here that video conferencing or video calling or video conversation may be exceptional to this sentence that body language and eye contact is lost. But there are some limitations. Though we are techno savvy and in this modern age, as we are living in the age of science and technology is playing a tremendous role to make us digital as a digital India. Okay, telephonic communication is important or inevitable part of dyadic communication. It is one of the commonest and fastest way of contacting persons. Within a second or within a minute, we can come in contact of any person living in any corner of the world through telephonic conversation. It is simple, handy, and in the long run, economical also. It has therefore been termed as priceless means of communication. There are some guidelines also for telephonic conversation that cultivate a cheerful and friendly tone, model your ideas, or lift the receiver promptly when incoming calls, wait 2 to 3 rings, answer the call with a proper greeting and be polite while speaking on telephone. When ending a phone call, be polite and then shut the phone down lightly. This is also a part of manner. Okay. Reveal your identity while receiving call or telephonic conversation. Reveal your identity. For example, hello, I am Dr. Chaturanand Kedar speaking, or I am Ram Gopal speaking, the chief accountant, like this. Okay, hold the mouthpiece properly, hold the telephone. This is a technique. If you do not know who the caller is, obtain his name and designation, but it is in professional manner. But you can say that there are many advanced technologies are there available in the market. That is, we can see the unknown person's name on our screen if someone calls. There are many softwares. Okay, so this is also another way to know, but sometimes it fools us. It shows a name is another and speaking person is different. Okay, even if the caller is annoyed, keep yourself cool. Sometimes we receive call and the other person who called us annoyed, but in that situation we must be cool. Give the required information accurately. If it is not readily available, promise to bring back and of course keep your promise. If a wrong number call comes to you, do not abuse the caller or slam down the receiver. It's our habit sometimes. Whenever we receive a wrong number. We sometimes use very foul language or slam down the receiver or disconnect the phone. Keep your telephone on your left hand and right hand is free to write. This is a part of manner or technique or style of telephonic conversation. Next part, please. Interview. You have already gone through this part. It is a direct communication involving two parties, the interviewer and the interviewee. एक तर याच्यामध्ये इंटरव्ह्यू घेणारे राहतात आणि दुसरा इंटरव्ह्यू देणारा. And there are many videos already available on YouTube. You can watch these videos and develop your personality according to the interview skill. How to develop interview skill? There are many videos available. You can watch these mainly for the purpose of gathering information. Okay. Next slide, please. Instruction. Instruction means directing others to perform a particular act is one of the functions of professional. Contrary to the general belief, it is not an easy task to tell others what one expects them to do without causing any psychological or emotional resistance. In fact, giving instruction is an art which can be cultivated. For the purpose of this discussion, we shall treat all that is said to achieve a single task as one instruction. Sorry. For example, if you ask your servant to make arrangement for dinner, you may instruct her or him to survive the sitting arrangement, supply of food, serving of coffee, or many things, etc. Okay, this is the part of instruction and it can be cultivated. Next slide, please. Dictation. Dictation in many professional organizations, dictation frequently used. It is an art which every professional has to learn in order to transact his day-to-day business effectively. It is wrong to suppose that one automatically acquires the ability to dictate as soon as one joins an organization. In fact, it requires lively imagination and constructive mentality to practice this art successfully. Thank you for hearing me. If you want to comment or you have any query, you can also find me at Dr. Chaturanand Kedar at gmail.com, or you can also contact me. I have given my contact number here. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak here. If you have any query, you can ask me.
Thank you, sir, for sharing such a wonderful insight about direct communication.
Hello.
As you rightly pointed out, Hello.
You are not audible, sir.
Am I audible now?
Okay, yes, speak, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for sharing such a wonderful insight about dyadic communication. As you rightly pointed out, that dyadic communication is very essential when you talk about communication in general. It is the soul of communication. And I hope the students have enjoyed your session. Now I would like to call upon Dr. Amrapali Modak ma'am to propose a vote of thanks. Modak ma'am.
Is there any query from the participant, or is there any question from the participant who want to ask on the direct communication?
No, sir. No, sir. Until now, no question has been asked from the
Okay,
participants.
okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Amrapali Modak ma'am, please.
Yes, sir, I am
Yeah.
here. Good morning, everyone. Respected Principal of Shri Vinsani City College, Dr. Sujit Maitre. The guest of today's session, Dr. Chaturanand Kedar, the head of the Department of English, Dr. A.M. Shinde, the organizing team members, respected teachers, and dear students. I'm really thankful for giving me an opportunity to propose a vote of thanks. On behalf of the Department of English, I spread my most sincere thanks to the guest, Dr. Chaturanand Kedar sir, who gave his most valuable time from his busy schedule to grace this meeting. Sir, you really made this session wonderful for us. It will definitely help our students to spread their wings towards the success. Once again, I thank you, sir. I want to extend my generous thanks to the principal of the college, Dr. Maitre sir, for his support and cooperation. I thank to the head of the Department of English, Dr. A.M. Shinde, for his support and cooperation. I thank to the organizing team for have such wonderful session. I also thank my colleague teachers for their leading participation at every point of time. I thankful to all the participants for joining here and listen the program carefully. Once again, thank you, sir. Thank you all. Here the session is over. Students, please visit the Google Classroom for further assignments, quiz, and feedback. Thank you once again.
Thank you, ma'am. Can I leave?
Yes, sir. Yes, please.
Okay, thank you.